Welcome to this four-part video series on data flow diagrams. And in this first part, we're going to begin by looking at the term abstraction. And abstract art, the term abstract, is derived from abstraction. And what we see on the screen here is a very famous abstract art piece. And it's called The Treachery of Images. And it's painted by a man known as Rene Magritte. And the text that you see underneath the pipe says, Ceci n'est pas un pipe, which is French. The English translation is, This is not a pipe. Now, the reason this is an abstract painting and sort of why it's so famous is it's playing with this idea that the painting itself is not an actual pipe, it's a representation, not a physical pipe, a painting of a pipe. And the term abstraction refers to this idea of representing stuff, their qualities, their characteristics, but not the actual things themselves. And data are, in fact, abstract. For example, the word pipe, that represents, well, as sort of just like our painting, the treachery of images is a painting of a pipe. This is the word pipe, not an actual pipe itself. Now that we have an idea as to what the word pipe represents, I'm going to add in some additional context. And it sort of changes the potentially the meaning of what was being represented by the word pipe. Since we have knobs, washers, handles, etc., maybe this is plumbing equipment. And as I add in some additional context, you can see that really what I have here is a table of data. Now, note all of the items that are listed in this table, again, knobs, pipes, washers, etc. What we have here is a representation of those things, including how many of them we have, how much each costs, and the item number that's associated with each of those items. It is not the physical stuff themselves, but rather a representation. In addition to data being abstract, diagrams are abstract as well, as we see through this map. A map is designed to help us get from one place to another, so it includes some indicators to help us do that. But notice this is not the actual route itself. That's something that exists. The roads, the land, the grass, the buildings, all those exist in the real world, just as the planets and their moons exist in the universe. And here we simply have a representation of those. Diagrams, in fact, are by their very nature abstractions, representations of stuff. And being that they are abstract, they leave out a lot of the particular details and capture some particular qualities, such as this data flow diagram. But more on that in a moment. First, we need to back up a step and look at what a business process is, because business processes are the main character in a data flow diagram. And a business process is a collection of related activities, tasks that are performed by people or equipment to achieve an outcome, like accomplishing a goal, creating a product, or delivering a service. Where we are in representing business processes through data flow diagrams is part of requirements engineering. And remember, requirements engineering is part of the larger system development lifecycle, specifically the analysis phase, where we're trying to really understand the business. And in requirements engineering, we both want to understand the past. Oftentimes that's a current system so that we can build the future. That is, create a new system. And business processes are, of course, a huge part of an information system, which consists of hardware, software, data, business processes, as well as people. I'm going to demonstrate for you now a way to represent a business process using abstraction. That is, by creating a diagram. And this sort of diagram is known as modular design. And it uses a few different components in order to describe a business process. Now, I decided to pick a business process that I think most people would enjoy, which is ordering a pizza. So the first step in that is to begin the order and then decide whether or not we want a custom topping. And if not, the default price is going to be charged for that. And if so, we're going to add or remove toppings. Now, that idea of choice is what we call selection in modular design. Adding or removing topping then requires an adjustment of price. That is one step and then another without choice. And so that is referred to as sequence, moving from one step to another step. Then are we done with toppings? If we're not, we're going to continue to add toppings, adjust price. Are we done? No, we're going to go back. That is what we call iteration. That is going back and doing something again. And if so, we're going to move on and complete the order. We're also going to complete the order after we charge the default price for not having a custom topping. And voila, here is a representation, an abstraction of a business process using modular design. Now, what modular design doesn't cover are inputs and outputs for and from those business processes. Every business process has an informational need, such as what we have to know, what needs to be decided upon, or what needs to be communicated. So the inputs to a process are data that help us to address these needs. So there's some data needs that we can identify in our modular design. That is, in order to begin the order, we need to know item availability and the actual menu items. To charge a default price, need to know what the menu item prices are. To decide on custom topping, what's the customer preference? For adding or removing toppings, what's available? And what are the prices for the toppings? Similarly, every process has outputs. That is, every process produces output, such as a decision, a result, an outcome, or new facts, which are considered new information. So when an order is completed, that's a sale that's been made. There's also a revision in the items available since we've just sold some items. So diagrams are abstract. And I can further abstract this idea of a business process and the inputs and outputs to it by using what I have here as a process symbol in data flow diagramming. And what you see here is a representation of that modular design, placing a pizza order. And we have these inputs, we have these outputs, and really, while these are kind of specific to that modular design, we can reword these a little better, summarize them somewhat. There's some data about orders, some data about menus, information produced is a receipt, and revised stock, as well as how much profit the business has made. So what we have here in a data flow diagram is more abstract than our modular design, but it also includes additional representation of both inputs and outputs that have been produced. So here's a very simple data flow diagram, and we'll look at more detail about how we create data flow diagrams in our next video.